Hi, my name is Nneka, and you're probably wondering why my parents are crying. Well, actually, I wasn't supposed to die. The day I left school, I was so happy. I had just finished my final exam. I was going home to tell Mama and Papa that their little girl had done it. I had passed through the fire, and now our suffering would soon end. I packed my small bag and entered the bus with other students. We laughed, we played, we talked about the future. I remember looking out the window, thinking about my dream of working in a big bank. I wanted to wear a suit, sit in a glass office, and send money home every month to my parents. I wanted to make them proud. But I never made it home that fateful day. Somewhere along the road, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the ground. There was blood on my clothes, my head was spinning, and the bus was turned upside down. People were crying, shouting, running. I saw the other students being carried into cars. They were hurt, but they were alive. But no one carried me. They walked past me like I wasn't even there. I tried to speak, but no one heard me. I tried to stand, but my feet felt like smoke. Then I saw something that made my heart stop. I saw my own body, lying still, eyes closed, not moving. I screamed. I shouted, but no sound came out. That was the moment I knew. I was dead. Tears ran down my face, but they didn't drop to the ground. I looked at my hands, and they were fading like mist. Why me? Why only me? Others survived. I was the only one who didn't. I didn't understand it. I still don't. I had a dream, a big dream, and I had made a promise to my parents. I told Mama, one day you will enjoy life. You will eat good food and wear fine clothes. I will take care of you and Papa. But how can I keep that promise now? They said the dead should rest, but my spirit could not. I had a bright future ahead of me. Something I must finish, even if I had to do it from the world of the dead. Before the terrible accident, I was a girl with big dreams. But, dreams are not easy when you are born into a poor home. I grew up in a small old house with no floor, no light, and no bed. When it rained, water entered through the roof and soaked everything. Sometimes we sat on empty buckets and waited for the rain to stop. We had no money, no food, no one to help us. But we had hope. Mama and Papa loved me too much. I was their only child, their only joy. Even when there was no food, Mama would smile and say, "Eat, my child. I am not hungry." But I knew she was lying. Sometimes, Papa would go to the bush to cut firewood without eating. One day, he fainted under the sun and hit his head on a stone. The villagers carried him home. When he woke up, the first thing he said was, "Has Nneka, my daughter, eaten?" That day, I cried like a baby. They gave everything for me. Papa sold his bicycle. Mama sold her wrappers, even our small mattress. Later, they sold the only piece of land we have, all to send me to university. They believed that if I finished school, our life would change. They said when I become an accountant in a bank, I would wear fine clothes. I would buy them a house. I would give them joy. And I believed it too. That's why I worked so hard in school. I studied with candlelight. I borrowed books. I skipped meals just to save money. I kept all my dreams in a small diary. Every night I would write in that book, "One day, Mama will sleep on a soft bed. Papa will no longer cut firewood. We will no longer beg. And every time I returned home for holidays, they would hold my hands and pray, Nneka, my daughter, always remember where you're coming from. Do not forget us. How can I forget them? They gave me everything, and I gave them a promise that I would change our story. But now, I'm just a shadow walking in a world that doesn't see me, a ghost with a dream. And that dream is still alive. 21 days after the accident, I went back to where it happened. I stood by the side of the road, looking at the blood on the ground, the burnt bush, the broken glass, and the quiet wind. It was the same spot where my dream ended. But something didn't feel right. Why was I the only one who died? The bus was full. We were over 20 students. Some were sleeping, some were laughing, some were eating biscuits. The driver was playing music. Everything seemed fine, until it wasn't. The bus crashed. It tumbled 3 times. People screamed, people cried, but only one person didn't come back. Me, Nneka. Why? I needed answers, so I followed the survivors. I watched them quietly. They couldn't see me. I was like air. Some of them were walking with crutches, some had bruises. One girl had a scar on her face, but they were alive. They went back to school, they posted on social media, they smiled, they laughed. And then I saw her, Sandra. She sat beside me in the bus. Before the journey, we held hands and prayed together. Now she looked different, quieter, afraid. I followed her for days. She didn't go back to school. She didn't post online. She stopped talking to people. Every 2 days, Sandra would leave her hostel at night and walk to the edge of town. Then she would enter a small hut covered in black cloth, a herbalist's hut. I watched as she dropped something into a calabash. My picture. My bracelet. The same one I was wearing the day I died. I felt something cold in my chest. Why was she carrying my things? Why was she visiting a herbalist? Then the herbalist said something I'll never forget. The spirit is strong, but your life was already bought. If you speak, it will come for you. Bought? What was bought? Was my life exchanged? Did someone choose me to die? I was never just unlucky. I was chosen. Not as a student, but as a sacrifice. And now, I was ready to find out why. 1 month after the accident, I saw a bright light, a wide road, quiet, shining like gold. Something was calling me, pulling me to the other side, but I couldn't go. I turned away. I wasn't ready to rest. Not yet. I had made a promise to Mama and Papa, and dead or not, I had to keep it. So, I walked and walked for days. No one saw me. No one stopped me. I passed through villages, forests, empty roads. My feet didn't touch the ground, but I felt every step in my heart. I followed the smell of smoke, the sound of cars, the light of the city. I didn't know where I was going, but something was guiding me. Something inside me whispered, "Keep going." Then, after several days of walking, I found myself standing in front of a tall glass building. The name on the wall read, Phillips Microfinance Bank. I stared at it for a long time. My heart began to beat fast, but I didn't have a heart anymore. Still, I felt something, like this was where I was supposed to be. I looked around. People were walking past me, laughing, talking, eating, working. Life was happening. But I was no longer part of it. I looked at my reflection in a car mirror. My face was pale. My eyes were dull. I didn't look like me anymore. So I wore a hoodie, one big enough to cover my face. Nobody must know who I am. Nobody must say my name. If they did, I would disappear forever. I saw a small empty space beside the bank wall. That was where I placed my first tray of food. It was nothing big, just white rice and stew. But it smelled good, just like Mama used to make. The first person that bought food from me smiled and said, "This rice sweet, oh." That was the day I became Nneka again. Not a student, not a ghost, but a girl with a dream. I started cooking every morning and selling near the bank. People began to notice me. They came back every day. I became a part of their world, even though I wasn't one of them. I was a ghost, but the hunger to fulfill my dream gave me life again. Every morning, I set up my small food table beside the bank gate. I didn't talk much. I just served rice, beans, yam porridge, and sweet stew. People came and went. Some smiled, some didn't, but they always came back. Then one day, he came, a tall young man, clean shirt, fine shoes, gentle smile. He looked very smart, but he didn't act proud. He stood in front of me and said, "Please, give me rice and plantain. No meat." I looked up slowly. Our eyes met. Something in my chest moved. Not fear, not love, just something I couldn't explain. I served him quietly. He sat near my table and ate slowly. After the first spoon, he paused. Then he smiled wide. "This food is magic," he said. I looked away. "Thank you." From that day, he came every morning. He didn't just eat. He talked. He joked. He laughed. Sometimes he stayed longer than he should. "Don't you work in that big bank?" I asked once. He laughed and said, "I do. I also own it." That day, I almost dropped my spoon. He was the CEO of Philip's microfinance bank. I started calling him Sir, but he said, "Please, call me Philip." Still, I kept my distance. I never smiled too much. I never told him anything about myself. Because I wasn't supposed to feel anything. I wasn't alive. I was just there. But Philip made it hard to hide. Every time he came, he brought light. He would ask, "Who taught you how to cook like this?" I would lie, "My aunt." Sometimes he would say, "You remind me of someone. I can't remember who, but your eyes look familiar." Each time he said that, my hands would shake, because I too felt something. His voice, his laugh, even the scar on his hand, all of it felt familiar. Too familiar. Then one night, I sat alone and asked myself, was Philip on that bus? If he was, did he know what happened? Did he see something? Did he remember me? He didn't know I was dead, and I didn't know he carried a secret too. But before I could look deeper, someone else noticed me first. I had seen her before. She always walked fast. Her heels made loud sounds on the bank floor. Her clothes were sharp. Her makeup was bright, and her eyes were full of pride. Her name was Mirabelle. She was Philip's account manager. She was smart, and she hated me. The first day she saw Philip talking to me, she frowned. The second day, she rolled her eyes, walked up to me, and said, "This is not your village, bush girl. Take your dirty food and go." I wanted to speak, but my voice shook, not from fear, but from pain. I wasn't dirty. I was just invisible. But that day, I kept quiet. Philip came out and smiled at me. "Nneka, come to my office. I want to show you something." I followed him. His office was big, full of books, numbers, and computer screens. But something was wrong. He looked worried. "There's a big mistake in the bank's report," he said. "We've lost millions. I don't understand the numbers anymore." I looked at the papers. The numbers danced in my head, but not in a scary way, in a way that made sense. My hands moved fast. I picked a pen and started writing. Line by line, I fixed the mistake. Philip was shocked. "Where did you learn this?" he asked. I smiled small. "I studied accounting in school." He clapped and said, "You're brilliant." Just then, the door opened. Mirabelle walked in. She looked at the paper, then she looked at me, and her face changed. That was the moment she knew I wasn't just a food seller. That was also the moment she declared war. Later that day, I saw her talking on the phone, whispering. Then she started asking questions about me. She asked around, she tried to find my ID, my school, my address, but she found nothing. No photo, no past, no records. Because I had none. I didn't need her hate. I was already hiding from the world. But now, she was coming for my truth. Every night, after selling food, I packed my things quietly. While others went home to their families, I walked a different road. A lonely road. Dark, quiet, cold. At the end of that road was the cemetery. That was where I stayed. I didn't have a house. No bed, no roof. Just a name carved on a stone and silence. Each night, I walked past graves until I reached mine. I sat there, under the moonlight. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I just closed my eyes and waited for morning. No one ever followed me. No one ever saw me. It's been over 3 months now since I came to this city, living among humans. I never planned to fall in love. Not with the living. Not with anyone. But every time Philip smiled at me, something inside my chest grew warm. He didn't care that I was poor. He didn't care that I had no past. He only cared about how I made him feel. Seen, heard, loved. One evening, after work, he took me to a quiet spot behind the bank. The sun was going down. The sky was orange and soft. He held my hands gently. "Nneka," he said, "I don't know who you are. I don't know where you came from, but I know how I feel. I love you. Marry me." My heart stopped. Tears filled my eyes. I wanted to scream, "No, you can't love me. I'm not alive." But instead, I smiled, and I said, "Yes." He hugged me so tightly I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was truly alive again. We laughed, we danced, he kissed my forehead and promised me a future. But the future had other plans. 2 weeks later, I felt strange. My body felt heavy. I started feeling sick in the mornings. My hands shook. One afternoon, I fainted while cooking. A woman rushed me to a clinic. The nurse did a test. She came back smiling. "Congratulations," she said. "You're pregnant." I froze. "What?" I asked, shaking. "That's not possible." But it was. I carried life inside me. Me, a ghost. The nurse kept talking, but I couldn't hear her. That night, I looked at my reflection in the window, and I screamed, because for the first time, I could see right through myself. My hands were fading. My face looked like mist. I blinked, and I was gone. Then I blinked again, and I was back. It kept happening, fading in, fading out. I touched my belly. It was real. The baby was real. I was pregnant for Philip. So now I asked myself, what am I becoming? 3 weeks after Philip proposed to me, the date was set. Philip's family was ready to meet my parents. They had bought drinks, wrappers, goats, all the things needed for a proper traditional marriage. Everyone was excited, but I was dying inside. I can't go to the village, I told Philip, holding my belly. I'm not feeling well. He kissed my forehead. You'll feel better. My mother says we must go. They need to see your people. I tried again. There's a lockdown, a sickness in my town. He checked his phone. No news of that. Stop worrying. It's your big day. I smiled weakly, but my hands were cold. He didn't understand. He didn't know that my parents already buried me 6 months ago. They cried, they wailed, they threw sand into my grave. Now, if they see me again, standing, breathing, alive, it will break the rules of the spirit world. I will disappear forever. No second chance. No more time with Philip. No more time with my baby. I needed a plan. But then something worse happened. Mirabelle. She showed up at the office with fake smiles and sharp eyes. She said, "You're going home. Mind if I come along? I love village weddings." I froze. She was already digging into my past. Now she wanted to follow me home? That night, I sat in the dark, shaking. I can't do this, I whispered to myself. If my mother sees me, she'll scream, she'll know, and I'll disappear. But there was no way out. Philip's people had packed their bags. The convoy was set. And Mirabelle? She was already dressed in lace, smiling like a snake. The big day finally came. I stood under the big mango tree near the village gate. The wind was quiet. Even the birds were not singing. I wore a long white gown and a soft scarf that covered my face. Nobody could see me, but I could see everyone. Far down the dusty road, cars were lined up. Philip's people had arrived. The men wore white clothes and carried walking sticks. The women wore bright head ties and wrappers that shone in the sun. Drums were beating, people were clapping, and songs were rising in the air. I was supposed to be inside my parents' house, smiling and happy, but instead I was hiding outside, hiding from my own marriage. Philip's parents came down from their car with big smiles. They were so happy. Their only son was finally getting married. They hugged my parents and introduced themselves with laughter and warm voices. But one person was not smiling, Mirabelle. She stood at the side, holding her handbag close. Her eyes kept moving around, as if searching for something. She had always been jealous of me, and I knew she had been watching me closely these past weeks. She had noticed strange things about me, things I couldn't explain. Then she smiled, but it was the kind of smile that hides trouble. She said softly, "Where is our wife, Nneka? She should come out and greet us." My heart jumped. I pressed my back against the tree, hoping no one would notice. My father held my mother's hand. They both looked at each other before answering. He said, "Nneka is sick. She is inside, resting." I could see it in his eyes. He still believed I was alive somewhere. I had visited him a few times in his dreams. In those dreams, I kept telling him that one day I will make him and Mama proud. Then Philip spoke up. "Yes, my in-law is right," he said with a smile. "Nneka is pregnant. The doctor told her to take some rest." Pregnant. The word hit me like a wave. I felt goosebumps all over my body. I had not expected him to say it out loud in front of everyone. It was true, but it still felt strange hearing it. A ghost should not be pregnant, and yet here I was, carrying his child. After the greetings, the marriage began. Philip's people brought drinks, yams, bags of rice, clothes, everything for my bride price. My parents sat quietly, watching. Then, to everyone's surprise, Philip gave my parents an extra 10 million naira in cash. He told her, "Your daughter is kind. She took care of me when I was in the city. I want to take care of her too." My parents' faces softened. For a moment, I saw something in their eyes, joy mixed with sadness. But Mirabelle, I could almost feel the fire inside her chest. She was dying from jealousy. Her lips were pressed so tight, I thought they might tear. And then, without saying a word, she turned and walked away, disappointed. I thought that would be the end, but I was wrong. Later that night, the celebration was over. The visitors had gone home. The compound was quiet. My parents sat side by side in the small sitting room, holding hands. I watched them from the corner of the room, but they couldn't see me. My mother began to cry softly. My dad turned to my mom and said in a low voice, "I have always believed our daughter, Nneka, is still alive somewhere." Tears rolled down my own cheeks. I wanted to run to them, to hold them, to tell them everything. But if they saw me, if they recognized me, I would disappear forever. So I stayed silent. That night, I sat under the mango tree again, looking at the stars. The air was cool and the baby inside me kicked for the first time. It made me smile and cry at the same time. I didn't know what I was becoming, a ghost, a mother, or both. All I knew was that I loved Philip, and soon I would give birth to his child. But somewhere in the dark, I felt Mirabelle's eyes watching me. She had not given up, and I knew deep inside that she was planning something. Something very evil. If this story touched you, don't miss part 2. Mirabelle's plan is only the beginning. Drop a comment and tell us, what country are you watching from?